Hello everyone, today I want to talk about potting on plants and just how important it is. If you get it right, your plants will thrive. If you get it wrong, your plants could die, they could drown, they just won't thrive at all, or they can stall growing for a number of weeks even, and therefore your plants take their time to grow and can be small and stunted when you come to plant them out. You can actually solve problems with potting on in the right way, and you can cause yourself more problems. Let me give you an example. I've got some parsley seedlings here, and if I just grab one of these out, these are not bad little plug plants. Now, if I was to plant that into that plant pot, which I've seen many people do, I've seen people put a plant into too big a pot before. You pop that little plant in there and then you water it. All of that compost will get wet, and that little plant now has all the water it needs to carry on growing just as it is. And by doing that, it's not actually sending out its roots to explore and look for feed and water. So feasibly you could drown your plant, so therefore you're causing yourself a problem. Now if you take that seedling and pop it in a tray this size, you can see the size of that. It's only got sort of ½ an inch of compost around it, and when you water that plant will use that water up fairly quickly, and it will start to send the roots out into that new compost that you've surrounded it with, looking for water and looking for feed. And eventually in a couple of weeks time, this little cell will be full of roots, and the roots will be coming out of the bottom of there. Then you can pot this whole thing into that pot. So you, just by taking an extra step, you've now got a thriving plant in there, and you'll have a thriving plant in there, and then come planting time you'll have a cracking root ball and a plant raring to go that's just going to go straight out into the soil and will do you really well. So that's the mechanics behind why you put on. It's not just to give them more space to grow, but it's to encourage them to thrive and to continue growing. Now we'll move on from there, and I'll show you these. These are my tomato seedlings. These are Shirley, and I've grown these up on my kitchen windowsill. So they've been shorter lights. I don't use grow lights, and when I planted these on, I grew them in, I planted the seeds into sieved compost, as I always do. I always recommend that people do that, and the reason is this: because you can shake off this excess compost and you can separate your seedlings nice and easily, so that you've got a nice tomato seedling there with roots on, its seed leaves and its first true leaves. Now, to cause this legginess that's been caused by lack of light on my kitchen windowsill, we can plant them deep, and I've got some deep celled plants in here, trays here, that I can now plant this into, thereby curing that problem of the legginess. And these plants will do fine in here, and then later on, once those roots start to grow, you see now it's nice sized plants. Later on I can then plant that into one of those and start going up through the sizes of the pots again. All the time I'm encouraging these plants to grow on and to thrive, and that's the important thing. If I'd put that little seedling straight into this big pot, it would do nothing. But by taking a couple of steps before it gets to that size pot, that plant will thrive. So it's very easy to encourage your plants to grow on if you take those steps. So I've got about 30 Shirley plants there now, and no longer leggy. And when these then go into this pot size later, all that legginess has then disappeared, and you've got fine plants that are looking for water, looking for food, growing and thriving, and that's the main thing. And we move on now to these parsley plants, and these just want thrown in this tray really. green side up. Let's make a little hole and drop them in. Doesn't get any easier than that. And these probably won't be potted on anymore from this tray. They'll probably get planted out from this tray, but we'll see. I might need to. If the ground's not ready for them and they're coming out of this tray, then I'll have to pot them on. You can see they're fine little pluglets. And then I think we'll have a look at my sweet peppers next. So you can see my sweet peppers here. The first half seem to be doing okay, the second half not so much. So I'm only going to pot on a few of this end, and you can see here the difference. This is a nice little pepper plug plant. It's got its third set of leaves just starting to grow, and if I just drop that in there, you can see the difference all around it of the extra compost that plant's going to have to go to. It's got about 1 inch of compost underneath it, and it's going to have about 1/2 inch all around it. That's perfect, because as that plant drinks up that moisture, as they have been doing with these plugs in this tray, and I've been needing to water these, their roots will go out underneath, down and around the sides, and they'll grow much bigger and much healthier with that. So just a case of putting some compost in around it and gently tamping it down, and a bit more just to finish it off. That is all you really need to do. So it's nice and simple, and you're keeping this plant keen and eager to grow. You're keeping it looking for food and moisture, and the plant will thrive because of that. And if you subscribe to this channel, the button's just underneath this video, you'll see these plants later growing, and because they're thriving, because they're getting on really well, they'll grow much better. They will resist diseases and bugs so much better, and you'll get a much better plant at the end of it, and a much better and more healthier harvest as well. All those just for taking a few extra steps and potting these plants on carefully into the right size containers, so that the plants are always keen, looking for water, looking for food. Just by doing that, taking a few extra little steps, you're making your end result, your end harvest, that much better because of it. That's more than a good enough reason to do it. So it's very quick, very easy. End result, better harvest. And essentially that's what we all want. There we go. Doesn't get much easier than that. So there we have it. That little tray's done, and I'll pot those on in about a week's time when they're a little bit bigger, and everything will thrive and grow and want to grow like mad. So just by thinking about the size of receptacle that you're potting your plants on into, you can solve problems, you can stop problems, and more importantly, you can encourage your plants to grow and not have them stall in a pot. If you encourage your plants to grow and keep them going in that way, you'll keep those plants marching forward, and when you come to plant them out, you'll have the best plants you've ever grown before, and you'll have a cracking harvest because of it. So as I say, it's so important to choose the right trays to pot them into, or the right size pots. Never go up too big a pot, and you should have thriving, lovely plants. That's it for this video. Look after yourselves, everyone. Please stay safe, and I'll see you all very, very soon. Ta-ra now.